Hey y'all, from Spindle Mountain Mercantile, I am Heather, and Mom is here too. Today we are excited to bring you our second video featuring Iron Orchid Designs Spring 2026 release. We are working on some projects with molds and stamps, but we like transfers best, so we did those first. Today's video is only 3 projects, and the first one is super long, so let's get started right away. I'm telling you right now, this is my favorite book stack yet. I'm starting with this gym book that got very damaged on the pages and the top. The back and the binding, though, were in really good shape, and I thought maybe I could match the purple. The second one is this DHEA Breakthrough. I have no idea what this book is, but there were about 5 of those in the trash. And the last one is a book I painted earlier. I don't know what it is, but I checked then to make sure it wasn't valuable. To go with this, I have some spare Tupperware. Don't throw things out sometimes. Maybe it's not Tupperware. I'm not sure what brand it is, but I only have the lid to this butter dish. And then I had my sweet husband take it outside with the 2 top books, and he made a hole so I can make a planter. Okay, y'all, I don't have a lot of original ideas. This is one of them. I am so excited. So let's make us a book stack, shall we? Out in his shop, my sweet husband used the top of the butter dish to find out where the 4 corners would be on the center of the top book. And in those 4 places, he used his drill press to make a pretty big hole. It needs to be big so that he could fit the blade of his jigsaw in it. Well, our jigsaw broke. Now, you can get these kind of cheap. This was less than $30 on Amazon, and it has a 4.7-star rating, and there's some that are cheaper than that. He's using his scroll saw. Now, the problem with the scroll saw is the blade is attached on the top and the bottom. So right here, he's showing you how he disassembled the top part, and then he put the blade up through the bottom of the book. And then he used that to saw on the mark he made with a pencil in between all 4 holes. You can also use a hand saw for this, but it's going to be hard because that's a lot of pages to go through. Oh, and instead of a drill press, you can use a regular drill, but you'd want to put your books into some kind of vise because they'll slip around a lot. I'm painting this in the color Garden Sage from Debi's DIY Cottage Colors. It's a 3-in-1 paint with the primer, the paint, and the sealer, and it only took 1 coat. The secret to getting good coverage with this paint is to make sure it's mixed very well. For that, I used this Submersible blender, but I also have this one for my shop, and I used the milk frother attachment. Now, Amazon does have this rechargeable milk frother, but it's not quite as strong, so you can't use it in the bigger cans, like maybe anything smaller than a half a gallon. In the description, I will leave a link for those. If you buy anything from Amazon by using my link to get there, they will give me a small compensation, but won't change your price. I didn't film mixing the paint in every color, but here it is in purple, and you can see the swirl right there. And when I push it down in the bottom and get all the way around the sides, you can see how light it is compared to when I started. And I just run my finger down that milk frother to get the paint off, and then I kind of tap it on the rim so I won't get it everywhere. I'm using green paint for the center book, and for the other 2, I'm going to use 2 different shades of purple. I loved purple when I was growing up, and then I just kind of fell out of love with it. But then I married my sweet husband, and he told me about when he was a little boy, he used to watch his big sister watching the Osmonds, and all my sweet husband could remember was that Donny Osmond wore purple socks. And all my sweet husband could remember is that Donny Osmond always wore purple socks, and he thinks that's why my sister-in-law loves purple. So of course purple is back in my good graces now, because Donny Osmond's purple socks remind me of how cute my husband probably was when he was a little boy. For the top book, I used Plum Pudding from Debi's DIY Cottage Colors, and for the bottom book, I wanted to leave the binding with that silver writing, but I couldn't find a purple to match. So I went to my friend Sherry's house, and she looked through all her paints. We found 2 that when we mixed them together, it worked, but when I painted the book, it didn't look right. So I just painted over the binding, and you know what? I'm really glad I did that, because that is what took me to a different step than I originally planned, and I love how these turned out. Oh, can't wait for you to see it. I wish I could tell you what color that purple was, or those purples were. I don't remember. They were just Apple Barrel or something from Hobby Lobby or maybe Walmart. I sealed the bottom book with a flat gloss. I sealed the bottom book with flat Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Cover in matte clear. Then I glued the books together using Titebond Quick and Thick. You can pick that up at any hardware store, but I'll also leave a link for it in the description. I'm also going to leave a link for the rub and buff I used. I found this little trio and it was a good price. But remember, just because I send you to Amazon doesn't mean you have to buy what I recommend. Go search, look at the reviews, get exactly what you want. The pages of this book were really gross. They weren't like moldy, they were just dirty. So I tried to clean them off and they got really wet, and you can see how they're kind of wobbly there. I decided to paint them with the silver rub and buff, and that worked very well. I think it would look really good with gold too. Moving on to funny story number 2. IOD, bless their hearts, always chooses names that I cannot pronounce, and I am not the only one. So for those stockists who cannot pronounce these words, they gave us a pronunciation key in an audio form. What they didn't include was spelling out the letters in English so we know what those words are. I think this is called something like Saoun, Saoun, but I'm calling it St. Owen. So St. Owen has these cute little pictures in it. They look kind of like little markings from a book company, and there are 3 of them. There are also some really great labels and words that I thought would look good on the bindings of these books, and I cut out things that were just a little too big and cut off smaller parts of them to put on the different books. So even though they are 3 different colors and sizes, they still look like they could be from the same publisher and maybe even from the same series. The only thing I knew about the for sure placement was the little tiny designs. So I put those on first, and I just used my fingernail. I didn't use my applicator stick. I'm not going to show you how to apply transfers in a detailed lesson right now, but I have lots of videos that do teach you how. Try to remember to link some of those in the description. When I did these, if they were too wide for the binding, I just kind of tucked them in between the book below and then folded it over the top and just kind of rolled it over the edge. And I started on the edge where it went over and just worked my way down to where it was tucked in between the books. If I couldn't get my fingernail in there to rub the transfer off, I think I used a pair of scissors. The transfer stick was still just a little bit too thick to fit down in there. For the words, I held the different designs in front of each binding to see which ones looked best, and I tried to remember that I needed lighter colors on the darker purple, and I needed darker colors on the lighter green. I hope that makes sense, and the lighter purple. After I applied these, I used my finger to burnish them, and that way I could feel if there was a catch or something and maybe it was going to peel off. St. Owen has a lot of different styles of writing in the form of sentences, so I just cut those down and mixed and matched and put them together where I thought they looked good. I took the same approach with the labels. I thought I would put a label in each book, but it ended up I only did 2 books. I did the bottom and the top, and I used one label that I cut apart so that they're kind of tied together, and then I did one full label on the top book, and the top book was wider, so it was easier to find one that fit. Because my goal is to make this something people can put fresh flowers in, I know there's going to be water around it, so I did seal it with Debi's liquid patina in crystal clear chandelier. I was not able to seal the inside where all the pages are cut apart, so I think whoever buys it is going to have to be careful, and I'll make a note about that and put it with the book so when they buy it, they'll see that and they'll know. But I'm telling you what, I made such a pretty arrangement for this. I don't know if anybody will ever want to take them out and put real flowers in. I'm just saying. So let's jump right into how that came about. I cut some old floral foam. This is the hard kind. It's not that soft kind you can get now at Hobby Lobby or any craft store. This is that old hard stuff. I probably found it on the side of the road in an arrangement. And I'm telling you right now, that's a knife that will cut all the things. I gathered a whole bunch of different florals and greenery so that I could see maybe what would look prettiest with this. I mostly stuck with mauves and light purples. There are a couple of deep purples too. The most, wait, the biggest flowers I started with, I got at the thrift store, but I'm also using a lot of flower heads I bought on Amazon, and I will leave a link for those. When you go buy those, make sure you look at the pictures that show the sizes and the styles. I have bought the wrong ones. I thought I was buying little tiny ones that were like as big as my fingernail. Nope, they were as big as the palm of my hand. I'm just gluing those onto floral wire. You can wrap the floral wire with floral tape, and that will make it look nicer. These are going to be hidden in the arrangement, and I don't think anybody's going to see that, so I just glued them on and left it at that. I started with these 3 flowers, and I worked away from them. The next step was smaller flowers in different shades and different colors like the mauves and the purples, and then I added some greenery. I went back and looked at the floral and rearranged some of it and added a little bit more. And then I added some white accent florals. Then I added a little bit more greenery and I added some more florals to balance everything out. This took quite a while and I want you to see the whole thing, but it's a very long film. So we're just going to speed it up between 5 and 10 times actual speed. And I will see you back here when I'm ready to show you the next step. At the base of the arrangement, you could still see the foam, and it's pretty ugly, so I needed to cover it up. For this part, I took the entire arrangement, including the foam, out of the butter lid. That's because I don't want any of this glue to get on the butter lid. I want this to be able to still be lifted out, so if somebody wants to put fresh flowers in it, they can do that easily. I'm using reindeer moss I bought at Dollar Tree. This stuff is in very small pieces. It's just little bits and pieces. So you have to put glue on it and then a bunch of the reindeer moss and you press it down. You might want to wear a rubber glove or one of those thumb protectors or finger protectors when you're pushing this down. My glue doesn't get very hot, so I'm not concerned about that. I did not burn myself. Thank you very much for your concern. Next, I need to make sure the book stack stays together and that especially the bottom book is really closed tightly so you can't see where the pages are wobbly. For that, I'm using this old belt that I found in a trunk I bought at an auction for $1. Y'all, there was a whole trousseau in there and then some. There were baby items, there was stuff from the honeymoon. It was crazy how much stuff I found in this huge trunk. The belt's a little too big, and instead of cutting it, I'm just going to wrap it around the bottom real tight, and then I will smush it together. But that won't hold the book stack together. For that, I'm going to my trusty knot tire, my sweet husband.
You need to tie a bowline.
Of course I do.
See, you put a loop. The rabbit goes up through the hole, around the tree, and back down the hole.
Okay.
That's your knot that will not slip.
Okay. He wrapped the entire cord around the book stack and then he put one end through that bowline knot. Next, he pulled it super, super tight. In fact, he pulled it so tight he didn't know if he could get the cord back up there around the edge of the book, but he did it. Now you have to make sure you wrap it around and pull it back through itself, and that makes another knot when it gets back to the bowline knot. And that's it. I'm telling you what, this thing wasn't just secure, it was secured so intensely that there's no way those pages will make the book's bow. I'm going to add that belt over it so you won't see the ugly knot. Even though it's a pretty knot in his eyes, it's still, just a piece of old rope. and not the pretty rope, but the nylon kind that you tie your fishing boat up with. So I'm adding some glue with my glue gun. And by the way, I use Gorilla brand hot glue sticks. I think they're the best. I fixed this so that the flap where the edge is hangs over the side of the books. And where it was too big, I just gathered it up and added glue and gathered some more and added more glue. I had to have this belt on there to cover up the rope that I had to have to keep the book stacked together. But it was beautiful. I love how it turned out. The only problem is now it's not balanced in the front, so I need something else. I found another belt in the same trunk, and I washed all of this, by the way, in bleach. I know that's not recommended, but I needed to make sure they got clean, and I only spent $1 on the whole lot, so it was worth the gamble, and it worked. I tied this in a regular bow like you tie your shoelaces, and then I frayed the ends and I glued that down, and I glued some of the other parts of the bow down to make it look perfect. Now you tell me, is this not your favorite book stack too? I want to make one of these for myself, and I will put real flowers in it. Project number 2. Hey, Mama, how long have you been doing transfers?
Half a year.
Yeah, I think we started at Christmas and Thanksgiving, getting ready for that. So probably September, October.
Right.
And what makes you think you can do a shape that's not flat?
Because you can do it. And anything you can do, I can do better. I can do.
Not only is Mama going to show you how easy it is to apply a transfer to a surface that's not flat, she's also going to layer another transfer on top of it. That's right, my mom is awesome. And she wanted me to tell you, if she can do it, y'all can do it. If you've been on my channel before, you probably know me and Mama have some back and forth about how to properly apply transfers. While there are some things you have to do to get them to properly adhere, there are also different methods you can use. Mama likes to rub the entire transfer and then take the carrier sheet off. I wandered off while she was doing this, and I said, hey, let me know when you're almost done and I'll come back and film the rest. Mama, why didn't you call me when you were done?
I didn't know I was almost done. I didn't know I was done. I raised it up and I was done. So now I'm going to burnish it. This was not easy to do. I thought I was going to have to call you to do it, but
That you were bound and determined to do it all by yourself?
yes,
I love
did it all by myself. Yeah,
So-
we put a ribbon around the top, and you have that velvet ribbon.
So I added mauve velvet ribbon and a bow and some flowers, and here is Mama's finished bottle vase. Project number 3. Dollar Tree always has these bottles in different colors. They have really neat stoppers. This one's shaped like a diamond. The other one I did is like a disco ball. I cleaned them off with 91% alcohol and a cotton pad. And then I went through one of my favorite new Spring 2026 IOD transfer books by any other name, which, by the way, I can pronounce. I chose 2 different little pieces of kind of like signage is what I think they were originally. And now you're going to see how easy it is to apply IOD transfers to even the most awkward surface. I'm going to start right off by rubbing it with my fingernail, not a transfer stick, because my fingernail will fit down into those grooves. I start a little bit off center and rub my fingernail all the way up and down one of the ridges. And you can see here where it is kind of a lighter color in some places. That's because the transfer is releasing from the carrier sheet. After I'm done with that initial ridge, I work my way down into the first groove, going up and down a lot of different times with my fingernail, and I work my way up the side of that groove. I do the same thing on the next ridge and work my way all the way to the end. Then I go back to where I started, almost in the center, and work my way the other direction doing the same thing. I continue doing that in both directions several times until the carrier sheet automatically starts lifting away from the bottle. It's going to do that because the bottle is round and the carrier sheet wants to stay flat. Now, there still could be some places where I missed a spot, and if that happens, I just lay the carrier sheet back down, make sure it's lined up, and I rub that part of the transfer until it's adhered. After the carrier sheet releases completely from the bottle, I burnish the transfer with my finger. Once again, I'm using Debi's DIY Crystal Clear Chandelier Liquid Patina as a sealer. First, I'm going to show you how I did it on the pink bottle because that transfer has smaller designs than the blue one does. I'm just dabbing it. I make sure my brush isn't too full, and then I find the biggest parts of the transfer design and I start there and work my way over the smaller parts. I do want the liquid patina to go over the edges, so it's okay if you're not really great at coloring in the lines for this. That's actually a benefit because it will seal those edges so water can't get between the transfer and the bottle. On the blue bottle, I could use more brush strokes because there's a bigger area that's all transfer. I cut some strips of old lace I found in that trunk and tied simple bows around the necks of these bottles, and I was done. Aren't they gorgeous? Y'all, I can't sit here and chit-chat like I normally do. I have so much going on. I'm still uploading stuff to our new website, spindlemountainmercantile.com. Soon you'll be able to buy more than just napkins and IOD. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, we sure hope you will. Just go check out our comments section and you will see how awesome our viewers are. If you want to help our channel grow, the best way to do that is to share our videos to your other social media. That way we can reach more people who don't know what they're doing, who are afraid to create, or maybe they make so many mistakes they think it'll just turn out icky. We want them to know that if we can do this, they can too. Okay, until you see us next time, we hope you have a wonderful week. And as always, we hope you are blessed. Bye.